I reckon I have a higher than average pain tolerance. I generally take discomfort quite well. I'm no complainer. But sometimes the pain after a bowel movement hurt so much it made my eyes water, and getting relief was next to impossible. Creams and ointments can only cope with so much. When the pain was at its worst, even lying down gave me no relief. I don't have hemorrhoids anymore. I got rid of them just over 2 years ago, and they've never come back. They're not going to either, which I realize is a bold statement. How can I be so sure? That's easy. The method I used worked so quickly that it was clearly the cause of my hemorrhoids disappearing. I had stumbled onto something that genuinely tackled those horrible things head on. After 3 weeks, my hemorrhoids had reduced to almost nothing, before finally disappearing for good. There's no accident here. Something that gets results so quickly has to be doing something right. So when they finally disappeared, I just knew they weren't coming back. And I was right. Believe me, I tried everything you've ever tried, and for 2 long years I tried it. The creams and ointments, forget it. It took me a while to realize what was going on here, but in the end, I got it. Ointments are simply addressing the symptoms. They don't stop the hemorrhoids coming back the next day. I tried eating more fiber. It's not as easy as it might sound. I got tired of salads and forcing myself to eat more vegetables. I figured that some veggies would be better for my hemorrhoids than others, but I didn't know which ones it might be. But despite eating everything in sight, I didn't really notice any change in the way I went to the toilet, and the pain just went on. I went to the hospital for banding. If you've not heard of banding, it's a procedure where they tie bands around each hemorrhoid. I'm not kidding you. The resulting lack of blood flow to the hemorrhoid causes it to wither and fall off. That worked for a while. It left me with a skin tag, but that caused no problems. But over the next 4 months, the hemorrhoids came back with a vengeance. They were actually slightly worse than ever. So then it was THD, transanal hemorrhoidal dearterialization. I was told this would be relatively pain-free. I believed it. I shouldn't have. True, I did suffer some complications. All procedures carry risk. But I had a month of pain beyond description. I preferred the hemorrhoids, to be honest. THD was my last procedure. When the hemorrhoids returned, I more or less gave up on a cure. So I carried on suffering all the frustrations that you're probably experiencing now. Discomfort going to the toilet. Real, sometimes searing pain afterwards, for hours on end. Bleeding, which always worried me because of the risk of infection. I mean, an open wound in an area like that. I think you get what I mean. Lack of mobility. I couldn't walk comfortably or bend down at all when my hemorrhoids were at their worst. Trouble was, their worst became more and more frequent. Hygiene. Let's not go too much into that. But you know and I know how difficult it can be to properly clean oneself when you're swollen and in pain. There's not much dignity to be had, that's for sure. Itchiness. I was luckier in that regard, but when it did itch, well, it itches like crazy. Having to plan toilet visits so the pain afterward didn't coincide with the social or work event. There's no discomfort like having to smile at people, be physically active in ways you don't want to be alert and attentive when you're painfully swollen and possibly bleeding at the same time. Finally, that permanent background fear of going to the toilet, knowing, as I did, that it wasn't going to be nice afterward. Is any of this familiar to you? If it is, then I feel for you. I know what you're going through. At one point, my doctor told me that I would probably have to live with the condition. His advice, readjust your idea of what it means to live pain-free. In other words, take the level of pain and misery that your hemorrhoids are giving you and try to regard that as your new normal. I think that was one of the genuine low points of all is that they didn't find it sooner. I'm so glad I got rid of my hemorrhoids so quickly. I wouldn't wish them on anybody. I now use the toilet without any worry. I never have painful swelling. There's never any blood. Everything is always perfect. It's your turn now. Be kind to yourself. Get Scott's Hemorrhoids Healing Protocol, follow the laid out steps, and see why the rest of us swear that it's the best thing we ever did. It's yours if you click the order link below. Remember, hemorrhoids don't just happen, and they don't have to happen. They're a problem with specific causes. Cause and effect. It's a universal law. The key, then, to permanently ending hemorrhoids pain is to address those identified causes. With the causes removed, hemorrhoids simply can't exist. It simply doesn't have to be complicated. Bad habits cause hemorrhoids. I addressed the bad habits that created my hemorrhoids, and so my hemorrhoids ceased. It's really that simple. One thing I think you know for certain, they won't go on their own. But they will go if you make them go. Scott will show you how to do that. Every single step. In about 3 weeks, I was able to go to the toilet without suffering any swelling, without pain or bleeding, without worry, just like I used to be able to do. You want the same, and you can start getting it in about 90 seconds from now. Click below and let's get this done. Everything improves with your decision. There's one thing we all know. If we don't address problems, they tend to get worse over time. There can come a point with hemorrhoids where the problem has become so bad it needs surgery just for you to function normally. The after effects may not be very nice. Don't do that to yourself. Don't let inaction today cause worse things to happen to you tomorrow. Time is of the essence. Start following the protocol that so many sufferers like me did. You've got a money-back guarantee that it works. What more do you need to relieve yourself of this misery? Your hemorrhoids can either get so bad you can barely stand, or get so good you actually no longer have them. Free of swelling, easy, pain-free, happy. It doesn't stand still. It gets better or it gets worse. Click the order link below to choose to get